What's up? It's your most hated kaiju power scare, King Churros here, and we're back with a reaction video to Dangerville, which Godzilla is the most powerful animated comparison. Now, Dangerville is a goated YouTube channel. I'm pretty sure every single person watching this video knows exactly who they are and the type of content they bring. These guys are awesome. Go support this video, give it likes, comment, do whatever. Go support these guys. But you guys know me. I love to power scale these kaiju, see how strong they are, and all of that. So let's see how Dangerville scales these. I don't think these guys are like deep power scalers. We'll see in this video. Maybe I'm wrong, but based off of their Mecha Godzilla video, not that much. But I'll make my predictions now to just save time. I hope Heisei Godzilla's at the top. He's showed the best feats, so he's the most impressive Godzilla. He's the strongest. Yeah, that's pretty much it. My scaling for the Godzillas kind of changed every so often as I do more research, so I don't have a definitive list yet. I'm still working that out. All I know is that Heisei's at the top and Zilla 98's at the bottom. It's that simple. Everything else in the middle, I'm still working out. But without any further ado, let's begin the video.
Godzilla,
like that intro.
The one and only king of the monsters. We've seen him battle the best weaponry humanity has at its disposal. He's battled
I hope
mutants,
I don't get copyright strikes for this.
machines, alien machines, and even gods. He's had a long theatrical history.
Ooh, are they including comic book versions?
Throughout his 67-year
Because if they include comic book versions,
he's left such an immense
I might change
impact
my answer
that
from
he's still
Heisei being the strongest.
appreciated by new generations even today. The sheer span of the fanbase is evident in the comment sections of our own videos. There's people over the age of 60 that watch our Godzilla videos that show so much passion towards the franchise. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have new young fans that are just getting into the series that are equally as passionate. People argue back and forth about which Godzilla is the best or the strongest or smells the best. So to settle the debates, we're going to make an analysis on which Godzilla stands as the king of them all, facing off Godzillas from every era to come to a final conclusion. So join us today at Dangerville as we answer which Godzilla is the most powerful. Since there's such a vast history for Godzilla, we're going to homogenize each era and compare them to each other. These eras being Showa, Heisei, Millennium, TriStar, Reiwa, and Legendary. We'll be analyzing different categories, ranking them out of 10 to accurately compare each iteration of the King of the Monsters. These categories being Scale, Strength, Defense, Ranged Attacks, Intelligence, and Special Abilities. Which is the strongest? Well, let's find out. The Showa era started in
Okay, so they seem to have their own type of scaling, interesting thing here. So everybody has their own versions of how they scale. So we're going to have to judge it on how they said it, which I'm going to rewind real quick just to make sure I didn't get it wrong. I don't get it wrong later, and I look like an idiot.
These categories being Scale, Strength,
Scale, so I'm assuming size, Strength, that's obvious.
Defense, Ranged Attacks, Intelligence, and Special Abilities. Which is the strongest?
So this is kind of like basic scaling.
Showa era
except they're probably not going to use statistic
with
feats,
Gojira and ended in 1975
it is what it is. We'll see what
with
happens.
Terror of Mechagodzilla, with a total of 15 films. Throughout this era, we saw him turn from a horrifying...
little prediction. Showa Godzilla should definitely get a 10, especially for scaling inversely, like within his own verse. He's definitely a 10, so he should be a 10.
Reflection of nuclear disaster into a protector of humanity. But one thing that's remained consistent was his sheer power. Showa Godzilla stands at a height of 50 meters, or 164 feet, and was brought to life using tokusatsu, the art of using a man in a suit to act as a giant monster. Showa Godzilla is one that's extremely capable at hand-to-hand combat, thanks to his human-like arms. He's able to punch, scratch, and grab his enemies, sometimes utilizing martial arts techniques. And with a weight of 40,000 metric tons, those physical attacks pack quite a punch. He is incredibly durable, being able to withstand ballistic missiles, kaiju attacks, and even the vacuum of space. The only monster to hurt Showa Godzilla are Hedorah, Gigan, and Mecha Godzilla. This era set the standard. Are Hedorah, vacuum of space. The only monster to hurt Showa Godzilla are Hedorah, Gigan, and Mecha Godzilla. This era.
I'm assuming when they say hurt, they mean like to a visual extent. Because, yeah, you're right, Gigan, Mechagodzilla made him bleed, and Hedorah made his skin peel off. But to just say completely ignore Ghidorah, I don't know. I'm guessing they're just going off being strictly like physically or visibly shown damage rather than just implied damage. Even though Godzilla was shown when he had the gravity beams to his balls. He did not like that. He was clearly hurt by that. But I'm guessing they mean by extreme visible damage. But yeah, all right.
Era set the standard for the atomic breath ability, starting out as a short-ranged fire breath before evolving into a long-ranged focused beam of radioactive fire.
Yeah, it did. It got stronger over time. Showa Godzilla trained
causes when exposed with air.
So by each,
this attack is enough
it's a safe assumption to assume since he trains. We know this is proof with Zone Fighter. It's safe to assume that with each film in the Solar series, he just gets stronger. So if you want to use like anti-feats from like raids again for like Terror of Mechagodzilla, it's not really that applicable because Showa Godzilla literally just gets stronger, not only physically, but with durability as well, because he used to have a weakness to lightning or electricity. Then by Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, he uses lightning as a power-up. So you can just see how much he increases in power by each film.
To blow up skyscrapers and send monsters flying hundreds of feet. Showa Godzilla started out very animalistic, only seeking to destroy Japan, but over the years evolved to be very intelligent, being able to plan out means of attacks and organize a tactical assault, memorizing weaknesses during combat, and even teaming up with other intelligent beings. And as demonstrated in Godzilla vs. Gigan, can talk to other giant monsters.
Something funny going on. You better check. Oh, yeah.
As for special abilities, there are certainly a few. He has the ability to fly by using his atomic breath as a propulsion system, which was demonstrated in Godzilla vs. Hedorah. He also has the ability to slide on his tail to drop kick his enemies, hilariously showcased in Godzilla vs. Megalon. And something unique to Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, we see him gain magnetic powers, which comes in handy in his face-off against the mechanized giants. So let's get to rating each aspect of this Godzilla. For scale, we're going to give him a 5 out of 10. For strength, we're going to give him a 7.
Okay, maybe I'm pausing too soon, but are they going to explain why his scale is a 5 out of 10? If by scale they mean size, he's actually the smallest Godzilla if you don't let Ultima grow to 100 meters. So if anything, his scale should be lower than 5, unless I guess they're including like other monsters he fought against, like the original King Kong, who was 45 meters, and yeah, he's bigger than quite a few, but in comparison towards all the other Godzillas, he is literally the smallest one. So he probably should get a lower score. Strength, a 7? Showa Godzilla's strength is actually crazy if you think about it. He's able to lift up titans or kaiju that weigh more than him with ease, and his strength is just kind of crazy, like the atomic breath and flying into the air. I guess that's more of a atomic breath hacks than you want to give him to physical strength. But either way, he still is shown to like be comparable to the likes of Jet Jaguar, who was able to throw Gigan like hundreds of feet in the air. He's able to lift himself with his tail and drop kick Megalon. Now that is a huge showing of strength. So Showa, if anything, at low ball should be like an 8.5 in strength, but realistically, a 9 to a 10.
For defense, he gets a 7. As for his ranged attack, he gets a 7.
I think that's
for intelligence,
average, yeah.
Showa Godzilla gets a 7.
7? Showa Godzilla is the smartest Godzilla. I'm not exaggerating, guys. The only other Godzillas I think come close to comparing are like Legendaries, Final Wars, what other Godzilla show like really high amounts of it? Zilla is actually pretty intelligent himself, but he deserves a 10. He communicates and strategizes plans with other monsters, which is something many of the other Godzillas do not do. The only Godzilla I can think of that actually like coordinate attacks with other monsters is Legendary. That's it. And he's also shown to understand human emotions. He hears kids call out his name. He reacts and protects them. I mean, I guess it's not a huge thing of intelligence, but Showa, yeah, it just comes down to him like being able to communicate with monsters and make strategies and plans. And he's smart enough to train because he realizes his opponents are stronger than him and he needs to get better. This is visibly shown with his battles with Mechagodzilla. For one, I won't say he needed King Caesar's help. He kind of did all the work. King Caesar didn't really do none, but we compare his fight with Mechagodzilla in the first fight and then the second fight. You see how he adapted to Mechagodzilla and how he improved in his fighting sense. And he even went for the head again because he knew it worked the last time. He wasn't stupid enough to forget. He was like, hey, this worked last time. Let me do this again. And then when he realized Mechagodzilla's second head, he still adapted and defeated him. So he's very intelligent. Should definitely get a 10.
7. And special attacks, he gets another 7. We'll reveal the combined mean at the end of the video when we compare each era. Showa Godzilla
I wish they... Oh, wait.
is very powerful, setting the standard for Godzilla going forward. But as the list will soon show...
Okay, it doesn't look like they're going to explain why they gave those numbers. But as you guys saw in my analysis there, he should get buffed. Like Showa Godzilla should get buffed with these stats. He's very good. I think he's very underrated by fans. But at the same time, I think he's also overrated by fans when it comes to power. But either way, he's still an awesome and very powerful Godzilla.
Each era attempts to outdo the previous one in big ways.
If he doesn't get all 10 out of 10s, I'm gonna be mad. Well, not really,
The Heisei
but you
era,
know what I mean.
starting in 1984 with The Return of Godzilla. The King of the Monsters came stomping back to theaters, both in the US and Japan. Godzilla
did.
took a new, more bulky form and was no more the friendly giant that fans had grown to know. Instead, he was a god of destruction, much like his 1954 counterpart. Standing 80
better,
meters, that's 263 feet, growing to even 100 meters later on in the era, and weighing up to 60,000 tons. This era ended in 1995 with Godzilla vs. Destroyer after a total of 7 films. But how strong is Heisei?
Quick question to anybody watching this, but how you guys feel about the Heisei films? They're your favorite, least favorite, mediocre? I like them. I don't think they're the best, but they're good. All right.
Godzilla. Well, this iteration of the character is far more bulky, and its stocky build makes it hard for him to engage in hand-to-hand combat. He is far less proficient in close quarters, being much slower than Showa Godzilla. But his extreme weight and size...
Yeah, that's actually consistent. I believe so. Showa Godzilla's been shown to run, do some crazy tricks like flying, which would increase his speed. The drop kick also shows his versatility and speed. And Heisei doesn't really have any that great of speed feat. People will bring up the the crystal thing he does with Space Godzilla, but that's like a fat outlier. But if they bring it up, I'll go into deeper detail on why it is.
Size allows the attacks that do hit to be extremely powerful. As for defense, Godzilla is extremely durable. Conventional man-made weapons are ineffective against him. G-Force had to invent entirely new technology in order to even stand a chance against Godzilla, and even that was disposed of with ease. Masers have proved to be somewhat effective against Godzilla, working as a deterrent more than something intended to kill.
Yeah, it seemed like more of an annoyance.
Is where Heisei Godzilla truly shines. Due to his bulky physique, his atomic breath is required to carry him during battle. Being brighter, hotter, and more powerful than ever before,
500,000 degrees Celsius.
500,000 degrees Celsius. It's hot enough to blow kaiju out of the sky. Godzilla is also capable of a spiral heat ray, which is an even more powerful version of his atomic breath, with temperatures of 1 million degrees Celsius. This was powerful enough to obliterate Mechagodzilla in only a few blasts. As for intelligence,
same Mechagodzilla
we get up close and personal with Heisei Godzilla quite a bit in the series. Heisei is easily manipulated, being lured in by flares from the Super X and Dr. Hayashida's magnetic wave transmitter in Godzilla 1985, which indicates Godzilla acts based on animalistic instinct. Although, as demonstrated in the film, Godzilla is capable of feeling emotions, like when he witnessed the death of his son. He let out screams of anguish and pain at the sheer sight. Although overall, he isn't as smart as the previous Godzillas.
Yeah, he should get a lower score than Showa. And by the way, Dangerville, buff Showa's intelligence, man!
Heisei Godzilla is stock full of them, such as the Nuclear Pulse, a short-range attack that emits atomic energy from all angles, giving him a great advantage in combat. He also has the ability to short-circuit mechanical equipment by discharging radioactive energy through Mechagodzilla's shock cables, stopping the mechanized Titan in its tracks. Regeneration is also a key factor to Heisei Godzilla's power, being able to quickly heal wounds as well as absorb surrounding radiation. Although there is a drawback. From absorbing too much radiation, Godzilla may go thermonuclear. This state of being is called Burning Godzilla, as seen in Godzilla vs. Destroyer. Due to the sheer energy, Godzilla has begun to bleed radiation and melt down like a nuclear reactor, causing his red spiral ray to spontaneously burst from his mouth as if Godzilla can't even control the sheer energy. Even the very ground beneath Godzilla would erupt into flames as if hell itself was rising from below. Godzilla in the end would not survive, nearly taking the entire planet with him, although mankind was able to freeze him during his meltdown. As for ratings, we're going to give Heisei Godzilla a scale of 8 out of 10, strength of 7.
I'm still assuming scaling means their size, which, he's one of the biggest Godzillas, not the biggest. He's smaller than Legendary and Earth, but he's pretty much like up there. So
7.5, defense of 8, ranged attack of 10.
Nope. Okay, good job on the range attack. But his defense, I guess it just all depends on how you see things. See, there's a black hole situation, right? Which is described to be where Space Godzilla originated from. And if that's true, that would mean Godzilla's cells could take on black holes, which should put him at a 10 of durability. However, it's a weird thing. So narratively, it's very much pointing to the black hole. So logically, he should have black hole durability. It's safe to say that. But there's also a little weird stuff about it. I lost my train of thought. It depends if you truly believe that. I've read some articles that would kind of disprove that this whole black hole feat. Apparently, when you get into a black hole, it's not as crazy as we make it out to be. Now, I'm not saying you would live through a black hole or anything like that, but it's not as wild as we're claiming it to be in scaling terms. But that all depends if these articles and sources are accurate. So there's that as well. So this black hole feat is either true or not true. So he's a bit iffy there, but he should be scaled up pretty high, which they did.
And intelligence of 6 and special ability of
Honestly,
9.
his intelligence should be a 5. He didn't really do anything that smart. I guess he figured out that Space Godzilla was getting power from a certain tower. He did that once, so it wouldn't put him at like -0 or nothing like that. But he really isn't like Showa Godzilla when it comes to like strategies and plans or coordinating with monsters. Mogira, he did work with Mogira, but Mogira's doing more of the coordination. Heisei Godzilla kind of followed. It wasn't like Heisei Godzilla was leading the charge or anything like that. But yeah, at least he's not that
9.
high. Special ability should be a 10. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but Heisei Godzilla has the most hacks. The pulse, he has the most power-ups. He went from base to supercharge to Rodan amp to burning form. So he has a bunch of amps. Then we got to mention the different kind of breaths: base breath, spiral breath, spiral heat ray, the infinite heat ray. Like, he has so many to his disposal. Like, I can't list that much with 99% of the other Godzillas. So he should get a 10 here.
Now, onto Millennium.
Yes, sir! My favorite series! The Millennium! Love the Millennium series, guys. You guys just don't know, bro.
Godzilla returned in 1999 in Godzilla 2000. Toho's triumphant return to the big screen following Hollywood.
If you guys see my Godzilla 2000 versus Godzilla GMK video, you know I scaled this guy to about country level. So he should be weaker than Heisei and even Showa, but he's still really good.
Wood's attempt
I like him more than the other two, by the way.
In 1998.
Hey, they kind of skipped 1998.
6 films, ending in 2004 with Godzilla Final Wars. This Godzilla has actually shrunk when compared to Heisei Godzilla, this time being much closer to the Showa iteration of the character, standing at a height of 55 meters, weighing a measly 25,000 metric tons. Slightly taller than Showa, but considerably lighter. And just to clarify, we won't be including Final Wars Goji here, since he's so vastly different that summarizing the era would have been impossible. So our comparison includes Millennium Godzilla from 1999 to 2003. But it goes without saying that
Why are you making like, what, 4 different continuities together? Okay, so it's just composite Millennium Godzilla, excluding Final Wars. So now we gotta take into account the dimensional tide feat. So I seen calcs for it to being dwarf star level or like planet level. I'm still doing research on that, so I won't set my foot on either planet or dwarf star, but already he's minimum at planet level if we're gonna do a composite version. GMK is gonna add to his intelligence and furiosity. Not so much with power. GMK, he's a strong and killer Godzilla, but power-wise, he's not all of that. But he will add to the furiosity. 2000's temperature is stated, I believe, to be one of the hottest ones. So that's going to help. Then we have Kiryu Goji being able to tank the absolute 0. But it kind of doesn't... That's irrelevant now since Goji Gearus is included in this. So it's really just Goji Gearus carrying this whole set right now. So right now, he should be getting like 7s and 10s.
In terms of attacks, G2K is much more capable in close combat when compared to Heisei, taking a much more slender cat-like form.
But Heisei's not bad. Let's get that clear here. I used to think Heisei was horrible when it came to close combat, and he just beam spam. But we gotta remember, he's not that bad either at close combat. In fact, when he got close combat with Space Godzilla, that's when he started laying the hands. Then he also laid some hands on Destroyer, like shoulder barging Destroyer, knocking him back some. So he's not just like a downy or an idiot that just can't fight fist to fist. He can definitely do something.
It's akin to the Showa iteration, although his light weight and small size make his attacks far less impactful. In terms of defense, Millennium Godzilla is unaffected by conventional man-made.
If this is composite Millennium Godzilla, he should be scaled to 60 meters because GMK is the tallest. And did they say he was 25,000 tons? Because he should be about 40,000 tons because of GMK.
Impactful. In terms of defense, Millennium or size make his attacks far less impactful.
They didn't say.
In terms
but
of
he should be
defense,
scaled to about
Millennium
40,000
Godzilla
tons
is
and 60
unaffected
meters
by
if this is
conventional
composite.
man-made weapons and doesn't appear to be phased by any attacks, although he's received battle scars in combat against heavy missiles and attacks from Mechagodzilla and Megaguirus. The humans decided the only way to deal with him was to send him into another dimension. I mean, it's a bit overkill, but that should tell you how much of a threat this iteration of the character was. His atomic breath is extremely deadly, being introduced in a new hot orange form, which looks haunting as he lays waste to Japan. When Orga attempted to absorb Godzilla via ingestion, Godzilla blew it up using his atomic breath, making it extremely deadly against some of the most powerful monsters. In GMK, Godzilla's atomic breath is capable of leaving a mushroom cloud in its wake, reflecting the effect of a nuclear bomb, and is even strong enough to obliterate Mothra, completely wiping her out of the sky. His intelligence is similar to Heisei, acting based on instinct, oftentimes without a goal. Godzilla seeks to destroy
Millennium
anything that
definitely
poses a
not
threat
that
to
smart.
him,
Unless
and he
GMK shows some good signs of intelligence, but not like Showa level. But yeah,
doesn't care
I would
about the
say he's like a
collateral damage being
5.5
dealt,
out of 10 when
although
it comes to
he does
intelligence.
showcase basic problem-solving skills, which he utilizes against his battle with Orga.
Oh yeah,
His
and this
emotional
feat, how I
intellect
forget
is
this was
very
also pretty
minor.
good on
As
2000.
for special abilities, Millennium Godzilla has a few interesting ones, such as a sixth sense, which Godzilla uses in his battle against Mothra, where he sensed her presence
Source?
behind him. In the same film, Godzilla uses gravitational atomic breath, which is a variant of Spiral Ray, which utilizes Ghidorah's gravity beams and combines them with Godzilla's own attack, creating a new golden
megaton
spiral
blast,
ray that
mountain
destroyed Ghidorah. Millennium Godzilla also has regenerative abilities, and like many of his previous incarnations, he utilizes radiation to heal himself. And now,
yeah, Regeneration G1 will do wonders for composite Millennium Godzilla, excluding Final Wars. Regeneration G1 will do wonders.
We're going to give Millennium Godzilla a scale of 5 out of 10. Strength of 6.
Consistent.
Defense of 7.
Strength of 6. Consistent, yeah. Yeah, Millennium, if we're not including Final Wars, yeah, he doesn't really do anything that crazy when it comes to strength. Defense of 7. Are we just going to ignore the Dimensional Tide? Like, that's like a planet destroyer to maybe a star. A small star, I should say. He should be scaled up to a 10, if we're going to include that.
Range attack of 7, intelligence of 6, and special ability of 7.
So, what I'm getting here, because so far, Showa Godzilla is still the most intelligent on their tiering. They might just be comparing intelligence overall. I'm thinking they're just comparing intelligence to all the rest of the Godzillas, and that's why I'm like, Showa's a 10. But it may not be that, so I could be wrong here. Alright. Cut this part out of the video.
16. Toho is back with a bold reimagining of the character in what was the biggest...
I'm really curious to how Dangerville will scale Shin. Because, really, Shin doesn't have that great of feats. But I feel like Dangerville's gonna hype him up to be like one of the greatest. But we'll see.
Biggest iteration of the character yet, standing 118.5 meters tall, and that's 388 feet, and weighing a whopping 92,000 metric tons at its peak. This version of Godzilla was radically different, taking the form of a putrid zombie-like beast that was mutated by radioactive waste. And unlike previous incarnations of the character, Shin Godzilla evolved throughout the film, starting off as a tadpole-like creature before walking on land and growing to the form we see ravage Tokyo. We'll be looking at this fully matured form for Shin Godzilla to compare against the other eras. So, how does this bold new version of the monster stack up? Well, his bulky legs slowly power through anything that comes in his way, knocking down houses, bridges, boats, and skyscrapers.
Crazy.
His weight is clearly the driving force here, with nothing capable of slowing him down, although Shin clearly is not designed for hand-to-hand combat, with scrawny little arms that would probably snap if he attempted to use them against another monster. Although, in the Godzilla vs. Evangelion ride, we do see Shin Godzilla using his head and mouth to thrash and attack its enemies. But it's still incredibly slow. Where it's most proficient is in its defense. Shin Godzilla is almost impenetrable from external attacks.
Are you sure about that?
With everything mankind could throw at it bouncing off its skin. This is because Godzilla constantly evolves and toughens up after every shot. When the Americans figured out his weak spot was his dorsal plates, they dropped MOPs, massive ordnance penetrators, onto his back, which did injure Godzilla. However, Godzilla adapted to this and grew a new ability to deal with the aerial attacks instantaneously. Although he does have some weaknesses, such as his slow speed, overheating, which requires him to stop in his tracks and regain the radioactive energy he needs to function, as well as the blood coagulant, used to eventually kill him. When dispensed inside Shin Godzilla, the blood coagulant cools the Titan at a rapid pace, extinguishing the reactor at the very core of Shin Godzilla. But what about ranged attacks? Well, this is easily Shin Godzilla's most prominent factor. Throughout the film, Godzilla glows as if he's charging, and upon reaching Tokyo, unleashes his devastating atomic ray. Unlike Atomic Breath of the past, this is a focused laser beam capable of slicing buildings in half. Not only this, but he can distribute this beam from his tail and even his dorsal plates, leaving Tokyo in a state of apocalyptic destruction, similar to the effects of an atomic bomb. Intelligence is definitely Shin Godzilla's weakest attribute, essentially being a mindless, lumbering, constantly evolving monster that brings death and destruction wherever he went. But he didn't need to be smart. It wasn't really necessary for the story the film was trying to tell. But it has no doubt left a negative impact on how powerful he can really be.
Yeah, his intelligence should be, I don't even know. Definitely not. He might be, out of the Godzillas we just seen, I think he's the least intelligent. Out of all the Godzillas we listed. Actually, he might be overall. I don't know. Shin just he acts like a germ. He just moves around and does stuff with no real meaning behind him, unless you want to go with Who Will Know, the Who Will Know song. Well, then he's just an emo. But other than that, he's not really shown that intelligence. I mean, he was smart enough to adapt to the bombs, but then again, the humans did outsmart him and trick him in the final scene after he did his the train sequence. They even tricked him into wasting his atomic breath and running out of power.
Special abilities entirely relate to the self-mutation, the ability to alter your very form on the fly, which comes in handy at several times throughout the film, and even demonstrated bodies that never came to be, such as the humanoid form that was Godzilla's desperate last attempt at survival before he was killed by the blood coagulant. One of the cut forms was that Godzilla was going to grow wings and even fly. That would have been absolutely terrifying. To rate Shin Godzilla, we're going to give him a scale of 9 out of 10. Strength of 7, defense of 10.
Why? What strength feat does he have? That's really impressive. I mean, he knocked over that bridge, cool. So did the first 1954 Gojira. Heisei no doubt can do it. I don't think Millennium would struggle. We've seen him knock over a bridge in Tokyo SOS. Granted, it's not as big, but it's not really a big feat for Godzilla to knock over a bridge. Shin didn't really do any physical strength things, so I don't know where this is coming from.
10, ranged attack of 10.
Yeah, the defense should definitely go down. Those BO bombers that got him made him bleed drastically and made him result into an attack fury where he just unleashes his atomic breath everywhere. No other Godzilla besides Zilla that I'm a little bit drowsy right now, guys, so I could be wrong, but no other Godzilla got bleeded from missiles. You could bring up 2000 getting his skin pierced off by these missiles, but they were strictly made for him. These missiles are like things that exist in the real world. Shin just appeared. They weren't prepared for this. They were not prepared for this. With the Millennium Godzilla, if you want to bring that up, they were prepared for him. So it's not exactly the same comparison. So really, he has one of the worst defenses because of that. And if you're like, well, he adapted to it and he got stronger and he can take it, we gotta remember when he saw the drones again, he immediately attacked them. If his defense just increased where they couldn't hurt him anymore, why would he bother wasting energy knowing it will put him in hibernation to get rid of those drones? If the drones wouldn't hurt him, that's just a waste of time. Like, we know the people that were running around from Shin with no weapons couldn't do anything to him. We didn't see him unleash his atomic breath in a fury to attack them because they're no threat to him. He's not bothered by them. So this is showing that he's not that great in the defense terms, and not to mention some trains knocked him over. So yeah, he's not up there in defense. Range attack, yes, he is a 10.
And special ability
that's
9.
And yeah, his special abilities are very unique, so I will give him that. Yeah. Good going, Shin. I'm guessing TriStar's next. Oh yeah! That's the boy!
The controversial but well-loved Zilla Jr. Unlike his 1998 parent,
I don't know if they're going to include the 1998 version because it seems like they said unlike the 1998 parent, so I'm guessing they're just going to do Zilla Jr. Because if it's a parent, trash, garbage, weakest Godzilla of all time. Now, as a monster overall, he's not the weakest. If you guys seen my Zilla versus the Rampage trio, he can definitely dish out and beat other monsters, but in comparison towards the other Godzillas, not up there. But Zilla Jr., on the other hand, I will argue he can beat Shin.
Zilla Jr. is adored by fans across the world. Featured in Godzilla the series that aired for 2 seasons from 1998 to 2000. This Godzilla can fight, defend itself, and even breathe atomic breath, being far more faithful to the king of the monsters we all came to know and love. Zilla Jr. is a species of irradiated marine iguana and stands at a height of 70 meters, that's 230 feet, and weighs 60,000 tons, which is larger than many iterations of the character. But how strong is he? Well, we witness him engage in hand-to-hand combat throughout the series.
Yeah, he's good,
Thanks to
and
his
he's intelligent.
Form, Zilla Jr. is incredibly fast-paced, ripping into enemy monsters with a...
His dad is stated to move at 300 miles per hour and probably even faster based on how he dodges certain missiles. But yeah, he's stated to be 300 miles per hour. Zilla Jr. being an asexual offspring of him, he should be identical to his dad. But obviously, he's shown to have better durability and power overall as he's able to use an atomic breath. But he should be able to move at minimum 300 miles per hour, likely faster.
Savage animosity. Strong enough to overpower monsters that are sometimes several times larger than him, biting, striking, and even whacking with his tail. In terms of defense, like Toho's Godzilla, Zilla Jr. can take large amounts of heavy artillery without taking damage. However, he is susceptible to attacks from other monsters and alien tech,
his durability
but
got a
is
lot
overall very resilient, although his biggest weaknesses are electricity, bright light, and poison, which prove to be effective against him in battle. As for ranged attacks, Zilla Jr. sports Godzilla's iconic atomic breath, except the fire is now green, and it easily lives up to the strength of its Japanese counterpart, being able to blow up its targets and incinerate monster combatants. But while it's extremely powerful, it's lacking in range. Zilla Jr.'s intelligence matches those of dogs, being able to feel emotionally, problem solve, and understand human directions, being able to form tactics and make
Now that he's here, I say he's second most intelligent after Showa. Yeah, he's second most intelligent.
moral decisions. Scientists in the show conclude that Zilla has a very large brain relative to his body size. And finally,
or there's arguments you can make that he's more intelligent than Showa. You know, I might need to make a video on that, but yeah, you can switch between the two. These guys, he's
special
pretty
abilities.
smart, man.
Zilla Jr. doesn't have magnetic abilities or a nuclear pulse, but what he does have is speed. Being able to sprint at a speed of 300 miles per hour. Thanks to his slender size, he's able to scale buildings and mountains at extreme speed.
Yeah, he's very
and
agile.
has quick reflexes, which come in handy in his fights against other giant monsters. He also has the unique ability to burrow in a way no other Godzilla can, being able to make tunnels to quickly make it from one destination to another, oftentimes surprising its enemies, bursting up from the ground beneath their feet, or claws. Zilla Jr. has enhanced dog-like senses, an acute sense of smell, advanced range of hearing, and can even see in the dark, most likely an adaptation to see in the dark burrows that he creates. Overall, Zilla Jr. is deserving of the title Godzilla, but to rate this iteration of the character, we're going to give him a scale of 6 out of 10. Strength of 6, defense of 6, ranged attack of 7, intelligence of 7, and special ability.
Intelligence is the same as Showa, so I don't think any of the Godzillas are going to a 10 with intelligence on this video, so seems alright.
Of 6.
Special ability 6. I don't really have a problem with that assessment. Then again, I haven't really watched Godzilla the series too much. I watched it as a kid, and I rewatched some of the fight scenes earlier this year and did some research on how powerful this Godzilla is. But like, I'm not the greatest knowledgeable person on this, so there could be things I'm missing here, but I think that analysis is about legit. Legendary! Yes, sir!
Now into the latest Hollywood interpretation of Godzilla, Legendary Godzilla. Legendary Godzilla was first seen on the big screen in 2014. Learning from the mistakes made by TriStar in 1998, this iteration of the character was represented as a true ancient force of nature, something mankind would be hopeless to stop. Featured in the MonsterVerse that started with Godzilla and ended with Godzilla vs. Kong in 2021, at least until Legendary announces a new film, Legendary Goji stands at a height of 120 meters, or 393 feet, and weighs nearly 100,000 tons. Although some calculations reach weights of a whopping 164,000 tons, making it
you could say he's 164,000 tons because of the GVK opening, but the fact that Adam Wingard, the director, kind of debunks that means it's not that really you probably shouldn't use it as a basis for his weight, but it is in a movie, so
the heaviest and largest Godzilla seen on the big screen. In terms of strength, Legendary Godzilla is a beast in close quarters, using its long human-like arms,
one of the best
pulling and swiping in a similar technique to a bear, using its immense weight, strong jaws and claws to bite and tear into the flesh of its enemies. His gigantic tail is also heavy enough to completely flatten the male Muto and knock Ghidorah over. His dorsal plates are also sharp enough to slice battleships in half. In terms of defense, Godzilla seems impenetrable.
It's also confirmed in Dominion that he sharpens his dorsal plates. So he does like to use them in combat. It was also stated in a novelization he cut Ghidorah with them.
Conventional man-made weapons, taking no physical damage from tank blasts at close range, and even taking the blast from a nuclear bomb face first at point-blank range.
Multiple times.
Godzilla may make sounds that appear to indicate pain from tank blasts, this is more likely to be just a tickle, a mild irritation, although his gills are a glaring weak point, being a prime target for its enemies, since it's an opening to the less armored, fleshy insides. The Mutos attack this section of the neck a great deal in.
I need to look more into that, but I used to be an avid believer of that too, but from what I've seen, it doesn't really, later on in the films, it doesn't really seem to be a plot point or never really like explicitly shown that he's weak in his gills. It just seems like he's just getting attacked. It never is like Godzilla's bleeding excessively from his gills or like he just stops fighting when he gets hit in his gills. It's just like any other attack, really. But more research need to be done on that aspect. But I don't think his gills are his weak point.
To deal a critical blow. Godzilla's ranged attack was showcased in 2014 as a short-ranged blue radioactive flame, similar to what it was like in 1954, capable of scolding the Muto and pushing it over with the sheer force. But in the following films, King of the Monsters and Godzilla vs. Kong, the atomic breath received a significant upgrade, looking more like a blinding light with enough power to blow
Mutos are the reason
hundreds
why it
of
was
feet
nerfed
away,
in the first place anyways.
And as demonstrated in Godzilla vs. Kong, blow a hole to the hollow earth and destroy the temple of Kong's ancestors.
Yeah, so his base atomic breath in GVK, you can either put it at large island level, to country level, to multi-continental, to moon. So, all comes down to where you want to scale it. But yeah, his atomic breath is one of the best.
Legendary Goji is
not as good as
intelligent for a giant monster, being able to analyze situations and even recognize human faces. But he has a one-track mind. The answer to most situations is destroy, but this works to his advantage a lot of the time thanks to his sheer weight, size, and strength. But what about his special abilities? Well, Godzilla has an alpha call which commands the titans that fear him across the world. He is also immune to other titans' alpha calls, such as Ghidorah, that was able to temporarily control the titans. For the first time since 1998, Legendary Goji can actually crawl on all fours like a crocodile, which allows him to sneak up on his enemies.
I've seen a calc for it being 513 miles per hour. So, if that calc is true, that would mean Legendary is the fastest Godzilla when it comes to running speed.
Also, as demonstrated in Godzilla Aftershock, Legendary Goji has the ability to blast a nuclear shockwave from his dorsal plates, which he used in his battle against the Muto Prime. In King of the Monsters, Godzilla showcases his thermonuclear pulse, which is possible when specific requirements are met. When Godzilla absorbs too much radiation in a short space of time, he begins to overload with radiation in a similar fashion to Godzilla vs. Destroyer. But the biggest difference is, Mothra can sacrifice herself to give Godzilla a way to ventilate that radiation in the form of nuclear pulses, which evaporate anything within the vicinity of the blast. Now let's take a look at the ratings for Legendary's King of the Monsters. We're going to give him a scale of 9 out of 10, strength of 8.5, defense of 8.
I mean, I guess. I didn't really... Wait, where did they put Shin's strength? It was 7, I think, right? Yeah. Because if Shin's is above Legendaries, they need to redo this whole entire thing. Defense 8, yeah. Okay.
Ranged attack of 8, intelligence of 6.5, and special ability
I'll take that.
8.
I'll take that, yeah. Their analysis for Legendary is pretty alright.
Before we get to finding out which is the most powerful, let's take a look at some honorable mentions that we couldn't include in the
Where's Final Wars? I'm guessing this is going to be an honorable mentions, but why isn't Final Wars here? I don't see a reason for him not to.
Comparison. There are versions of the characters that stand out as anomalies, making the comparison too difficult to calculate. So here's a quick look into the iterations that we left out. In 2004, Godzilla Final Wars would release, and with it, a new, more powerful iteration of the character. This version stands 100 meters tall, that's 324 feet, and weighs 55,000 tons. Godzilla in this film is overpowered as hell, killing several kaiju throughout the film, and even taking a meteor head-on. He moves incredibly fast and can utilize martial arts in his attacks to gain an advantage. Overall, Final Wars Goji proved himself to be one of the most powerful iterations of the character.
He did.
In
But
2017,
why is he not on the list? I don't see what's so hard about him scaling him. You can put his strength to like a 9 to a 10 for him throwing Kumonga over the horizon, or when in his Kaiser state throwing 100,000 ton, which is the same weight as Earth, Kaiser Ghidorah into the sky and blasting him. So his strength should be high. His speed is also really high. He's shown to be very agile. His intelligence is good. He's able to make peace with humans. So he's not just a stupid animal. He's able to have an understanding. His atomic breath was able to slow down a meteor, and we don't know the exact size of the meteor, but at minimum it's like 300 feet. So it's just a lot. It's a lot you can use, and I don't see why you can't scale him. He's good.
Godzilla would return in the anime Godzilla Planet of the Monsters, in a series
don't know why
lasting
Earth
3
is not
films,
scaled either.
ending with Godzilla the Planet Eater in 2018. In these films, we delivered the biggest Godzilla ever seen, standing at a massive scale of 300 meters, that's 1,165 feet, and weighing 100,000 tons. He has a sonic roar ability and can even disperse an atomic ray from the tip of his nose. This Godzilla is likely to be the most powerful version of the character, but its scaling is so incomprehensible that the comparison is unfair.
It's not that incomprehensible. He was said to destroy a planet in his little book series thing before that takes place before Monster Planet. He destroyed Gorath, which was moon size. He's as big as a mountain, so his strength should be comparable to a mountain. Like he should be able to like destroy and like lift mountains. I would say, not that fast. Intelligent wise, average, not that great. He has powerful shockwaves, light speed, atomic breath. It's crazy. I don't know. He's not that hard to scale him, really.
They even had to alter Ghidorah to be an extra-dimensional god creature in order to even do any damage, which says everything you need to know about how strong Godzilla Earth is. Most recently, Godzilla Ultima was seen on the Netflix anime Singular Point, and much like Shin Godzilla, evolves throughout his lifespan. But Ultima was surprisingly much smaller than most iterations of the character, standing only 45 meters tall and weighing 30,000 tons, much closer to the Showa era in terms of scale. But don't let its small size fool you, Ultima is incredibly powerful, with an atomic breath that matches that of Shin Godzilla, leaving entire cities engulfed in flame, and has a weird new ability using blood tentacles to defend itself, and is even capable of healing itself immediately.
The Ultima form didn't
a very
use that,
powerful
though.
and unique version of the Titan. Right, after calculating the mean of each era, we can come to a conclusion on which Godzilla is the most powerful. Before we reveal the winner, type in the comments which you personally think is the most powerful.
Hanna-Barbera is actually really strong, jokes aside. Show us the lowest. Oh, okay, never mind. 8.1. So it's 6.7. 6.3. Okay, show us above Composite Millennium, which is fair. I'm gonna make a video on it soon about where Goji Geras and Showa Godzilla compare to each other, because you could argue Goji Geras kind of claps Showa, but I'm not in that state of mind yet to be able to argue that, but more research. Shin should be lowest here. Oh no. So let's rewind. Let's get this right. 6.7, Showa. Heisei, 8.1. Should be higher. 6.3. 8. This man is more powerful than Composite, Millennium, and Showa. Now, this guy was getting hurt by normal conventional weapons on the neck or on his dorsal plates. He was knocked over by a skyscraper and had a hard time getting up. And now if you want to use that against, well, legendary Godzilla that happened to, and Heisei Godzilla, let's compare the differences between the two. Legendary was tired, drained out, fighting for hours. He was already scarred and injured by the Mutos. So that's not him and his prime when that building fell on him. And it's not like the building annihilated him or anything. He got up just fine. And I guess you could say the same thing with Shin, but Shin was on the ground for a long time, and allowing the humans to put coagulant into his mouth, knowing they're trying to harm him. And he couldn't do much about it until he was able to get his atomic breath back. Then, in Heisei's situation, Batra is the one who knocked it over him. And Batra is clearly more powerful than any conventional human weapon. So, comparing the three, Shin's looks the worst. But I digress. He's the lowest, sadly, but it makes sense. Now, they put Legendary and Shin on equal terms. Legendary would, I can save that for a video. But let's just say Shin should not be as high as he is right now. Yes, sir! They got it correct. Heisei does indeed win. Very much so. He just has a lot of going for him, but Shin needs to go down. Like, actually, he needs to go down.
In 1984, Toho wanted to reinvigorate interest for the series by making Godzilla a walking nuclear reactor with immense destructive power, a callback to his original self that was a representation of nuclear bombs. No more kid stuff, so it's only fitting that it's this era that is the most powerful. Heisei has simply faced such a variety of godlike beings and has always come out on top, with an array of special abilities and a super powerful atomic breath. Heisei Godzilla really is the king of the monsters.
He is.
Do you agree with
Godzilla
our
is
list?
the strongest.
Which era of Godzilla do you think holds the most powerful iteration of the character?
Heisei, you guys got that right. But I still need to understand this whole Shin love. Shin is not that good. That rapid evolution is not really shown that well. If humans whose AP is nowhere near to legendary Godzillas, show us Godzillas, or heck, even Zilla Jr., the humans in the Shinverse do not scale nowhere near these guys. If they're able to defeat Shin, and I'm not counting the coagulant, I'm talking about injuring him, knocking him over with buildings, stunning him with trains, and in fact, let him power out himself with his atomic beams, then these other monsters who are scaled up way higher than that should easily defeat him. But it's their list. That's how they want to do it. That's fine. That's fine by them.
Let us know in the comment section down below.
Good job. No, for real though. Dangerville are awesome. I love these guys and make great content. Beautiful video. Well edited. Nice animations. Round of applause. Good job, Dangerville. Great video. That was a really good video. Much enjoyed that. Now, how about you guys watching my reaction, man? You think I was going too hard? You think I was going too crazy? When you watched their video, were you like, yeah, this is accurate? Or were you like, no, there's too many L's here? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways, have a nice day.